Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Going through this experience of being the main supply for a narcissist, I actually had to study quite a bit about what made me his main supply. Why did he pick me? I was just a regular girl. In his school, there was nothing, everyone says I'm pretty and, and I'm very youthful looking, and I've never had a problem getting boys, but, and I've always had, that allure for men, but I still didn't know why he picked me. And after this experience, and you go through YouTube and the internet and find out a lot of things, I started seeing the word empath a lot. I'm like, and at first I was like, what's an empath? What makes an empath? I never really knew what that meant or what it was. So, you start taking a lot of little tests and things that they have on the internet, like am I an empath, test, and you answer all the questions and you go through the whole thing. And it's a little bit fuzzy. I think it would take a panel of experts to say whether or not you're an empath. But to explain it to someone who's not an empath, that doesn't know what it means or what it is to be one. And I'll tell you right away, and I'm going to try not to cry while I explain this, because empaths, first and foremost, an empath feels everything. Everything. And we don't want to. Actually, it's hard to feel everything, because most things are actually bad. The world gets hard. The older you get, the more complex it gets. Things get hard. So I remember when I was younger, and I think this might have been one of the first signs that I realized maybe I was an empath, or I didn't realize it now, but I'm talking about, I'm looking back at, me having emotions when I was young that I probably shouldn't have. So I was in high school, and River Phoenix had died, and he was just like an actor. But how girls have high school crushes and things like that, and I know they get all emotional, but he wasn't like this beacon of, my favorite actor, but he was just like this story that came across the news that he had died of an accidental overdose. And I just remember hearing that story and knowing that he had a brother that witnessed his death, Joaquin, and he's an actor now, Joaquin Phoenix, witnessed his death. And oh my God, it struck me so bad, to the point where my family didn't really understand why I was so upset. It was as if my own brother died. I was so upset, and I remember things like that always happening to me. When things happen to other people and they have these emotions over it, it's as if it's happening to me, and I shouldn't take that on, and I know I shouldn't, but I can't help it. And, another big one, and maybe this is one because so many people felt it, so many people felt it, whether they were involved or not. I remember the day, everyone remembers, major monumental things that happen in, history. But when Princess Diana died, I couldn't sleep the entire night. I just thought that the loss was too much for me to even handle. I was so upset that such a beacon of humanity died. And it shouldn't have been her, anybody but her, and I was just so devastated. my mother is probably an empath as well, and I remember her getting out of bed and both of us sitting in the living room, like looking at the news. We're doing things. Both of us couldn't sleep because a woman that we had never met on the other side of the world died. I mean, a lot of people, and the reason why I bring up that story, because it's hard to come up with events and things like that to tell people, how an empath is impacted by everyone else's feelings. So, I mean, it's hard to find examples that impact enough people that they can understand it. But an empath feels that way on an everyday level with everyone they meet sometimes, So think of it that way. Like an empath, and for me, like people like us, like everyone asks what drew us to be the main supply of the narcissist, right? You're trying to answer that question for yourself. And the thing is, because when you're one of those people that is the opposite, the exact polar opposite of a narcissist, they can't feel, right? They don't have empathy. They don't have remorse. They don't have the feelings. They can't generate their own emotions towards something and give everything to something that that they shouldn't. Like they need to be fueled constantly. And an empath is a fuel generator of emotion. So when you have one half that absorbs energy, can't generate their own, can't function or run without energy, right? So you have a car engine on one side that needs to be fueled constantly or else they can't run or function. And then they have like a natural gas outline on the other that can fuel them. I mean, when they come across that, they capture it, right? Because they need fuel and you are a fuel generator. You have an abundance of emotion and giving and solving and wanting to comfort and help, and it makes someone feel good. You don't feel good unless everyone around you feels good. If you see someone that needs something, you do a stupid act to try to make strangers feel better, and I remember, God, I got such a trouble for it too. It made sense to me at the time, but I saw a girl she was like, panhandlers, and I'm a sucker for handlers, obviously, but this one girl, she was, she looked like she was like my sister or something, like she was just a normal girl. And I'm like, whoa, you're not supposed to be on the streets doing this. Like you don't have to beg for money. Here's all my money. And everyone that I knew, all my friends around me got so mad at me. Like, don't do that. I'm like, well, and I'm like, what do you mean don't do that? What, so anyway, it's trying to explain what it's like to be an empath amongst a world that suffers is one thing, but to be an empath against a narcissist is a devastating combination, because you have an engine sucking fuel that needs fuel, that can't run without fuel. They're an engine. They're not a natural gas, tap. They are an engine. They need fuel to run, and they're looking. And when they find an empath, well, it's like striking rich. It's like striking oil, right? Because they have something that they can run on, something that generates fuel, and that's what they're looking for. They are honed into that. So, and I was confused at first when my narc wanted me. Like, I'm not even sure I wanted him. I'm not sure why he wanted me, and he, of course, love bombed me, and that's what made it happen. But I was the perfect match for him because I was the perfect fuel source for him. But the thing is, there's wells that run dry. So when you're with someone who needs to be fueled, and I'm the empath that is generating all this fuel, but the thing is that there comes a point when you start to run dry. You haven't had time to replenish your reserves or anything, and they suck you dry. And as soon as, this well is dry, time to move on to the next well, right? And they're off to the next empath that has a full reserve of fuel, and you're left dry as a bone, right? Trying to figure out, who wants me now? I'm a dry well. But the thing is, if you're a proper empath, don't worry, because we're able to regenerate ourselves. We just need a little bit of time for our reserves to fill up again, and we're going to soar again and be filled, and we're going to start to having those feelings back where we're able to give again, because that's what makes us happy, right? And anyway, it's a hard thing to explain to people that are not narcissists and are not empaths about why they feel the way they do and why you feel the way you do, but this is what makes the perfect match. The perfect match that's not if you want to know why you got chosen to be the main supply, you want to say it's a compliment, but the thing is, imagine if you didn't end up with a narcissist. A narcissist didn't find you and be able to detect that you were an absolute, natural spring, gas line. What if you were, just someone who was normal and you had all this abundance, or maybe another natural spring, right? The two of you together would make this a soaring couple that could just give back to the world constantly and be this power couple, right? That's what you kind of want to find, but instead, you ended up with a narcissist. It's not our fault, we couldn't help ourselves. We saw someone who needed us, and we did everything we could to help them. So you got to forgive yourself a little bit for helping someone, because it was in your nature, and don't turn your back on that part of your nature, because this is what makes us, all beautiful. So come to this channel, keep listening, build your reserves, and help us all find our tribe as we move forward in happiness and prosperity and full reserves, as we flourish past or post narcissism.